What's going on, guys? Joey here from 9 to 5 Escape. Today with the 2005 4Runner. Had an issue with the check engine light throwing a misfire code on cylinder 6. First I tried all the easy things like spark plugs and ignition coils, but that didn't work. Had to look at a leak down and compression test on it. It was leaking through one of the exhaust valves, so that turned into a whole process of removing the heads, rebuilding them, and putting everything back together. So this is a series of 4 videos for you to show the step-by-step process of how to get there, how to put everything back together. If you are doing your timing belt, if you're doing head gaskets, we go through all of that in this video process. So it's not just about rebuilding heads or replacing valves. So you may find some help in this video. But in this first video, we'll show you some of the things when you're replacing on the top end. Some of the easy stuff first. Big things in the way: air box and the intake and the intake manifold. Most of the cooling system, so upper hose, lower hose, fan shroud. Definitely do the battery terminals first, skip that. Drive belt, anything attached to the drive belt, anything kind of on the front and top of the engine is in this first video.
First thing is to remove the skid plate. There's actually 2. There's 4 bolts on each. 1 here, and 2 in the back for the front one. Now you're going to want to drain the coolant. The first part is going to be from the petcock valve at the radiator. Stick a piece of hose up to here, turn this, it's all going to come pouring out. You're probably going to want to put a 5-gallon bucket under it to catch it all, because it's going to go everywhere. Again, this is at the bottom of the radiator, under the car. So, yeah, drain the coolant from the block. This is above in front of the transmission. I don't know what size it is.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It was a 10mm.
Next, you want to take off the battery terminals with a 10mm box end wrench. You can just take off the negative, but we took off both. Next is the throttle body cover. There are 2 10mm nuts on top.
So take off the top of the air box, disconnect the MAF,
10mm.
or just a screwdriver.
That'll work too.
Yeah. So this is a 12mm. 3 bolts in the bottom of the air box. 1, 2, and the third one down there. A couple vacuum hoses. There we go. There's one down here. Yeah. Yep. Nothing else connected to it?
Nope.
Remove the throttle body. There's 4 10mm bolts that go to it. There's also a connector here to the throttle body. And looks like 2 more vacuum hoses to remove.
That one.
So that hose goes
Right there.
The connector comes off, goes there. This vacuum hose.
It's got coolant in it.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah.
So we're gonna leave that on. So
So
take this plastic cover off here.
11
There should be 11 plugs here.
But you only have 5.
Enough to hold it on.
Yeah. And then down here.
Down there. Okay.
just lift off. The baggie from these.
Removing the upper radiator hose. 2 hose clamps. One at the top, one at the bottom. Yeah.
Tip it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other. We're gonna remove the fan shroud and, well, the reservoir for the coolant first. So the reservoir has the bolts here, a bolt down here, and then a bolt up here, and then the hose snaps into these little guides here on the fan shroud. And then we take off the fan shroud, 10mm bolts.
It's right there.
So there's 2 clips that hold on the oil cooler hoses
To the fan shroud.
to the fan shroud. There's one there, and there's one here.
Then need to remove the fan from the engine. There are 4 bolts, nuts, I guess they're nuts. One here,
Find out.
one here, and then there's 2 on the bottom. The bolts were on these studs here. There's 4 of them. We had to use 2 12mm wrenches at the same time, pushing in opposite directions. And then the fan should come off of that with the shroud all in one shot.
Okay, we got the fan loose. And I'm gonna pull up the fan and the shroud. The oil lines are off of the clips, so this should come out.
I'm gonna take the lower hose off.
We don't have one of those.
That's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Bottom hose clamp. Removing the belt. Lefty tighty to loosen the belt. Hold that to the left and then look up the routing for the belt. Another 14mm.
Ratchet would be nice.
Yeah. Kind of just point to it real quick. Either pulley is here.
Okay.
Remove the thermostat housing. There's 3 12mm nuts. 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom.
Good catch.
Removing this coolant line here. There's a hose clamp here. We already took the throttle body off so that can stay attached to it. There's a Y in there, or a T.
T right there.
So that this will stay attached. And then there's a bracket there. That bolt is 10mm. Okay.
The other bracket's right there.
And that runs up here, and then the other bolt
It's there.
is back up here. So this wire was connected there, and that broke off. That was in the way of the bracket.
Yeah, strapped over the bracket.
And
Couldn't pull that hose off. And
so the hose comes off of here, and then the bottom one is left. Down there.
get ready. It's gonna rain.
Remove the upper thermostat housing. 2 12mm. That one and that one. And wiggle it left and right because there's an O-ring holding it in, I believe, into here.
An O-ring on here. A gasket here.
So we're going to remove the left cam cover. There are 3 10mm bolts and 1 10mm nut.
1, 2,
Okay.
and 3. Alright.
And the last one is down under here.
Let's take the cover off.
That's the left overhead cam.
So right now I just opened up this clip here. And there's another one right under here that I'm gonna pop off. And then another one there. And then this grommet's supposed to come out. So it's cam sensor grommet that's plugged into the front of the housing. 1, 2.
Okay.
And the third one's over here.
So there's another one at the bottom. So remove the, but the VVT electrical connector that goes on top of the cam. So pull this whole electrical to the right. Yeah, we'll disconnect this so it comes through the grommet hole.
Okay. Okay, so it's off.
Take off that grommet. Now you can pull the cover off and slide the connector through the hole.
Okay. Connector goes through the hole.
So the power steering pump is in the way of the alternator. There's 2 bolts and 1 nut. There's a 14mm here. There's a 14mm down below, down in there. And then the nut is on this star-shaped stud. You'll have to go through the wheel and use a deep well socket on this one because of the stud on the top. Removing the alternator to get the pulley off.
You got 14mm here.
Yep.
12mm here. 14mm down there.
So there's presumably 4 bolts, 12mm on the tensioner pulley. 1 here, 1 here. And there's another one under here. And then you'll pull the alternator out of the way, then this pulley will come off. So this cover's in the way. Looks like there's 2 12mm bolts. 1 here, 1 here. When you take this cover off, you can get the tensioner pulley out. So the alternator will come forward off the studs.
Hoses in the way a little bit. There we go.
Now,
Off the stud, can you get everything past now?
the pulley is off.
Yeah.
So the AC compressor bolts need to come off so the fan mount can come off. There's a 14mm nut there, and then a 14mm bolt there, and then also a 14mm bolt on the back side of the AC compressor that we'll have to get from underneath. So there's the oil filter. There's a bolt right up there. It's the one on the left, not the nut, but the bolt. Okay. So there's another 12mm bolt for the fan bracket to take off. And another 12mm on the fan bracket. So there's a Phillips screw on the top. Looks like it's holding a ground wire down. And that's making that bracket loose. Yeah, that has to come out. The compressor bolt down here
Goes in that way.
Okay, under those.
Yes. See it now?
Yeah, so there's the bolt up there.
Assume it's another 14.
Yeah, way up there. So you have to remove some vacuum hoses. It says to remove that one first, but it's already off of the airbox. So next to remove are the vacuum hoses, that one and that one. Next is the Evap hose, right there. Next you can get rid of take off the PCV hose. There's a little grommet thing that goes on top of it, and then this hose here connects to your PCV. Disconnecting the wire harness from the fuel rail. There's one there, and there's one, you push the light back there, yeah.
There?
Yep. So we're gonna remove, there's a bolt back there, and then there's another bolt.
Right down there.
Yep, right there.
You're going to remove that bolt and that cover to take off this wire harness from the intake manifold. Going to remove this vacuum hose. Looks like it goes to the power steering pump. And then this electrical connector that attaches to the manifold. And this bolt that holds the bracket that holds this electrical connector on. Next, you're going to remove the electrical connectors that go to the fuel injectors. There's one there, another one here, another one here, and the last one back here. More injector electrical connectors on the other side of the head. There's one here, one here, there's another one here, and the last one is here.
We're going to pull the connectors, or the ground off of the cam, I believe. And then we're going to pull the connectors off of the mission coils. One there, there's one there, one there, and another one back there. We're going to remove the 4 ignition coil connectors. One here, one here, number 4. There's one here, number 6, and then there's one here, number 8. Going to remove.
It's right underneath the fuel rail. I think you can see it from the front here.
This connector there, which is maybe a knock sensor. Not sure, but it's connected to the whole wire harness as well.
There's a fuel line attached to the fuel rail here. This orange and blue connector. Underneath, you're going to lift and separate the tabs on the orange piece and lift it up at the same time. And then you can squeeze the blue pieces together. There's 2, one on each side. You squeeze it, push the hose in, and then pull it out. You might get some fuel to leak out. This is on the back driver's side. The other fuel line you have to remove is here. There's a plastic bracket or a hanger you have to remove. You just snap it off, move it out of the way. Same deal with the blue tabs here. Squeeze the 2 blue tabs together, push the hose down, and then pull it up. Next, we're going to remove the nuts and bolts for the intake manifold. The first one is right here. The second one is down in there. There's another one behind the fuel rail. Right there, can't focus on it, but you can see it. Next one on this side is down there. And then there's a nut in the back for the 5th one on this side. right there. There are 5 more on the right bank. There's one there. Second one down there. Third one down there. Fourth one down there. And then the nut in the back. Disconnected this electrical connector from the front water bypass joint. It's kind of getting in the way of the intake manifold removal. So we actually ended up taking this connector off of this bracket here, leaving the bracket on the manifold, disconnected it. This is going to have to pass through the fuel rail and the intake manifold, otherwise it's going to get caught. You can push it down and out of the way. So in removing the intake manifold, we found a vacuum line that was still attached. The vacuum line attaches to this harness right at this point, and it runs under the intake manifold.
Thanks for watching the video. Hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel to help us out. If you have any other questions or comments, concerns, leave them down below in the comments. We'll answer them for you. So tune in to the next video. Click right here, the next installment of this segment of 4 videos for this whole rebuild process. Catch you next time.